I pulled up the gauge this morning, same as I do every single day, and today's number needs a second look before we go anywhere else. 1,040.53 feet. That is Lake Mead as of this morning, Friday, August 7th, 2026. 188.47 feet below full pool, which sits at 1,229 feet. Down another 0.04 of a foot overnight. Small movement. Same direction it has moved for most of the last 2 decades. But today I'm not here to talk about the lake itself. I'm here to talk about something a lot closer to home, your mailbox. Because here's the question I keep hearing from people watching this channel, and it's a good one. I did everything right. I ripped out my lawn. I put in low-flow fixtures. I stopped watering anything that isn't food. My actual water use is down 20 to 30% from 5 years ago. So why does my bill keep going up? If you've asked yourself that question and never gotten a straight answer, stick with me for the next few minutes. Because the answer is not the one your water district wants you thinking about. It's not really about drought. Drought is real. Don't get me wrong, the lake behind me proves that every single day. But drought is not why your bill keeps climbing while your usage keeps shrinking. What's actually happening has a name in utility economics, and once you understand it, you will never read your water bill the same way again. It's called cross-subsidization. Here's what that means in plain terms. Residential water rates in most of the Southwest are built on something called an inverted block rate. You get a small amount of water at a base price enough for drinking, cooking, basic hygiene. Cross into the next tier, and the price per gallon jumps. Cross into the tier after that, and it jumps again. The idea, on paper, is conservation. Use more, pay a steep penalty, and you'll think twice before running the sprinkler. That sounds fair enough, until you find out that rule only applies to households. It does not apply to the industrial customer down the road. Large water users, data centers running server farms that need constant cooling, bottling plants. And big manufacturing operations typically negotiate their own contracts with the utility. And in a lot of these agreements, the pricing runs the opposite direction. The more water they use, the cheaper each gallon gets. It's called a declining block rate, and it means a facility pulling millions of gallons a day can end up paying less per gallon than the retiree next door watering 3 tomato plants in July. Now, why would a public utility agree to that? Because those big industrial customers have leverage. They can threaten to build their next facility in a different state. Cities compete hard to keep those jobs in that tax base, so the utility locks in a friendly long-term rate to keep them from leaving. And once that contract is signed, somebody still has to cover the utility's rising costs, the new pipes, the new treatment plants, the debt payments on all of it. That cost doesn't disappear. It gets reassigned. And it lands on the customers with the least leverage to negotiate anything. Residential ratepayers. People like you. You are effectively funding the massive corporate profit margins of these industrial giants, bleeding your own savings dry just to keep their overhead expenses artificially low during a severe drought. There's a second layer to this that goes back over a century, to a piece of Western law called the doctrine of prior appropriation. First in time, first in right. Whoever claimed a water right first, sometimes back in the 1800s, gets their full share no matter how low the reservoir drops. Over the past couple of decades, some large investment firms have been quietly buying up agricultural land across the Colorado River basin. Not always to farm it. Often the real asset being purchased is the senior water right attached to that land, a right that costs them almost nothing to hold on to. When a drought squeezes the system, some of that water gets resold to desperate municipalities at premium spot market prices. And when a city buys water on the open market to cover a shortfall, that cost typically flows straight through to residential bills as a line item adjustment, the kind of charge that's easy to miss on page 2 of your statement. Now stack one more thing on top of this, because it hits people on fixed incomes the hardest. Your Social Security cost of living adjustment is calculated off a broad basket of national prices. It is not designed to track regional utility inflation in drought-stressed cities. So while your COLA might rise 2 or 3% in a given year, water and sewer rates in parts of Nevada, Arizona, and California have climbed by double digits. That gap doesn't show up as one dramatic hit. It shows up slowly, quietly eating into the part of a fixed budget meant for groceries, medication, and emergencies. And here's the part that should really make you sit up. When households conserve, which everyone is told to do, over and over utility revenue actually drops, because most of a utility's costs are fixed regardless of how much water moves through the pipes. Think about the sheer scale of the infrastructure required to pump, treat, and deliver that water to your tap. The massive filtration facilities, the thousands of miles of underground concrete piping, the immense electricity bills to run those pumps 24/7, those are massive, immovable fixed costs. Whether that pipe delivers 100 gallons or 10,000 gallons to your neighborhood today, the bond debt on that pipe still has to be paid this month. And because residential households make up the vast majority of the captive customer base, utility boards quietly spread that financial shortfall directly across your neighborhoods, hoping you'll blame the drought and write the check without looking too closely. So what happens when conservation works too well? Utilities raise the base rate to protect their revenue. You use less. You pay close to the same, or more. Meanwhile, the industrial account down the road keeps running at a locked-in discount that was never exposed to that pressure in the first place. None of this is hidden in some secret document. It's sitting in plain sight, in 300-page utility rate filings that almost nobody outside the industry ever opens. Public officials stand at press conferences telling residents that we're all in this together, that everyone needs to sacrifice equally. Behind that message is a rate structure that was never built to be equal in the first place. So here's what I'd ask you to do this week. Pull up your last water bill and actually read the fine print. Look for anything labeled a purchased water adjustment, a drought surcharge, or an infrastructure recovery fee. Then, check whether your city publishes its industrial or economic development water rates. Most utility commissions hold public rate hearings, and most residents never show up to them. That's usually where these decisions get made quietly, with an empty room. The lake will keep dropping a few hundredths of a foot most days. And I'll keep bringing you that number every morning. But the number that actually determines what you pay isn't just sitting on a gauge at Hoover Dam. It's sitting in a rate schedule nobody reads, decided by people who were never in the room representing you. Stay sharp out there.